What's up, everybody? I'm Raph, and you might remember Gaia and Atlas from this video that's floating above my head. If you don't, check it out. So it was always our plan that our first breeding project would be these beautiful little geckos, African fat tails. It turned out that Gaia was already gravid when we received them, so it was really just a waiting game to see when that first clutch would be laid. Well, she laid them on Halloween, and here we are in January of 2022, and their first clutch hatched. We're gonna introduce you to the little peanuts, but first, make sure if you like reptile content and you think fat tails are just gosh darn adorable, you subscribe to our channel and like this video. It helps out a lot. And let's get into it. So we put Gaia back for a few reasons we'll talk about later in the video, but let's talk about incubation. So for our incubation, we used this dinky little homemade incubator. Actually works, apparently. And like I said, the first clutch was laid on Halloween and ended up hatching on January 2nd and 3rd. One egg hatched a day later than the first, so it was 63 and 64 days of incubation. Now the incubation time is going to be determined by the temperature you have them at, and there's a range of temperatures where you could successfully hatch African fat tails. This being our first time breeding, we went with the dead center just because there are some problems if you incubate at too high of a temperature. The safe range is roughly between 81 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so we went right in the middle at 85 degrees. African fat-tailed geckos are pretty cool. They're temperature sex determinate. Based on the temperature that you incubate them at, they can either be male or female. It's never 100%, but so if you go in the higher range, like 87 to 90 degrees, you'll hatch mostly males, but if you incubate a little lower, down closer to 80 degrees, you'll get mostly females, so that's pretty cool. We have no idea the gender of these little geckos. Number one, they just hatched, and it's not a perfect science anyway, but also we hit the middle ground, so I think it's equal odds on being either male or female for each baby gecko. And we incubated these little guys in little deli cups full of moist vermiculite. Moist. As far as the hatchling living conditions go, they are in 6-quart sterilite tubs. They're pretty small, but these geckos are pretty tiny too, so I don't think they'll have a problem in there, at least for the first few months of their life. We're using cut up toilet paper roll as hides, and some sort of bottle cap or something like that to provide a shallow water dish. And there's one of those hides on each of those sides. And I definitely don't love paper towel overall as a reptile substrate, but for little hatchlings, it's going to be great to be able to see that they're pooping healthily, not getting impacted, because again, you're not going to impact your animal just because you keep them on a safe loose substrate. But with little babies, you can never be too careful, because those digestive tubes inside are obviously way smaller when you're talking about such a tiny animal. And the last thing I want to mention about their setup, and you don't see it too much with little baby tubs honestly, is a humid hide. We turned a little deli cup into a tiny little humid cave with moss inside. So if these animals are feeling a little thirsty, there are always going to be droplets on the sides if they're not going to the water bowl. But also a place where they could go where that humidity is a little higher, since they're not being kept on loose substrate that can hold the humidity well. So these little guys are being almost completely left alone during their first couple days in their new bedrooms and in this new world that they have no idea what's going on, except for welfare checks, of course, to make sure that nothing's going wrong and they're nice and healthy. Now, the first one that hatched on that first day already shed and pooped, so basically getting ready to begin eating and functioning as a normal African fat-tailed gecko. So because of this, we did leave a few dubia roaches in this dubia roach escape-proof dish, so you can go in there and find, or she can find, some dubia roaches running around in there, but they're not hiding under the paper towel. And if it doesn't take it, even for the next couple days, it'll be like another climbing opportunity in the middle of the enclosure. We will start offering food with tongs soon, but there's really nothing to worry about this early on. The next clutch that's lined up in the incubator was laid on November 19th, so 19 days after the first clutch was laid. Being that these eggs hatched on January 2nd and 3rd, we're expecting them around January 21st. And that being said, that leaves us with 2 little baby geckos and 4 more clutches in the incubator. So 8 eggs in the incubator alone right now, and they all look pretty good. So we did candle them to see if there were veins inside, make sure they were fertile, and they are. So we are going to have a bunch more little baby fat-tailed geckos here in the near future. And the crazy part is, I think Gaia might be gravid again. She was looking pretty big in the middle, but I guess it remains to be seen. Usually 5 clutches is a lot of clutches, so I don't really expect any more per se. But if they happen, I guess we're ready, and we'll make sure Gaia eats up. And as you can see, Atlas is a stripe here, which is a dominant trait. Gaia also gave the babies a dominant trait in the normal, no stripe African fat-tailed gecko variation. And the first 2 eggs, neither of them had a stripe, as you can see, but that's okay. I do really like the stripe, but I'm assuming that we'll see them later on because there is a 50-50 chance for each egg that it will have the stripe. So speaking of the proud mother, I don't know if they're proud. Do you guys even know what's happening? Anyway, Gaia is doing really well. She's taking dubia roaches almost every night. We give her a few because she has been going through a lot. And she's even been taking the periodic pinky mouse when she's looking really lean. Mice aren't something that I recommend to be a staple in your gecko's diet at all. I mean, hey, don't listen to me. There are smarter people that know more about reptiles that will tell you the same thing. But for a breeding female of basically any species that eats insects, like bearded dragon after a clutch of eggs, I don't recommend giving them rodents all the time, but it kind of makes sense as a calcium and a fat boost. But that's the thing, they're really fatty, so you don't want to be feeding them to them all the time or out of the breeding season, really, because you run the risk of making your animal overweight, and that's pretty tough for reptiles. As you may remember from our previous videos with our African fat-tailed geckos, Gaia and Atlas were cohabbing. I say were, right? They were cohabbed apparently forever until we got them. They're around 2 years old. So they spent an awful lot of time together, and it didn't seem like there were any problems. We were able to keep a very close eye on them here. Obviously, you can't watch every second. A lot of people are going to get mad that I'm cohabbing these animals. But, you know, they really never had a problem. We had different hides that only Gaia could fit in that Atlas couldn't, so if she had to get away, she could go. Sadly, the other night, we noticed a bite mark on Gaia's head. So it didn't break her little gecko skin or anything like that, which he definitely could if he wanted to. So it didn't seem, I don't know what it was, really. She might have just been denying him breeding now, and he wants to get back into it, but obviously, she's already going through a lot producing these eggs, so we're not going to put her through any more of that stress. Atlas is now in detention. They are separated in their own homes. And they're separated in tubs for now, but you guys are going to see, like I talked about in our New Year's update, we're going to get some awesome enclosures going in here, I promise. But guys, honestly, we're just really pumped to have finally produced a couple little animals here at Red Ribbon Reptiles, and we're going to produce way more in the future. I mean, this is the coolest stuff in the world, right? You're playing Jurassic Park, you know? It's, my reptiles. So we're very excited to be working with these little babies, learn a little more about hatchling reptiles along the way. Barnaby is climbing like a mad woman back there. I don't know if you guys hear it. With all that being said, you guys, that brings us to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the little babies and the rest of our animals as much as we do. If you do, make sure you subscribe to our channel and like this video. Again, it means a lot. We're getting close to 100. We're going to feed every animal in here. Over 20 animals we'll be feeding on film. So if you guys want to see that, you better tell a friend, do whatever you got to do. Start smashing that subscribe button. We hope you guys stay tuned for more baby updates and more reptile content twice a week. That's it. We'll see you next time.